Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bible Over a Beer. I am Steve.
I'm Randy.
We are about to discuss Proverbs.
Proverbs.
But I did, so you were kind of tasked with the conversation starter. But one thing I wanted to notice, if you watch a lot of channels and people just jump into us and like, what are these guys about? And we're about discussing the word. We're not teachers.
Right.
We want you to welcome and join the challenge with us. I want to reiterate that. We're newbies at this. We're reading between, and we're kind of, and there'll be some proverbs we talk about that kind of what we're doing. So I just want to put that out there that don't look to us for.
No.
And then also the beer thing. I mean, it's just a discussion over a beer. It's nothing to do with influencing or he's drinking water.
Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and it's not like, of course, Bible over a beer for sure.
Sure.
But just don't get confused that, we're trying to, discuss the Bible drunk.
It's a beer.
It's a beer.
Most people drink a beer now and then.
Oh, no.
That's what we do. We don't get together that often, so we have a beer. But tonight, sparkling water. It's just what I was in the mood for. So what the heck is Proverbs? I don't know. I read them, but I don't know what they. No, actually, I do know what they are.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, they were inspirational. I get bored easily, Steve, and
It's not a story. It's a
yeah,
collection.
that's what it is. Yeah, that's what it is. I need a story to keep my interest. I had to force myself to read this. I'm sorry. The last two books, Psalms and Proverbs.
So Psalms.
But I did it.
Yeah.
I did it. This is my first time through. Like he said, we're not experts. I'm learning, man. Please tell me something. Comment. Tell me anything that you can.
Share your struggles.
Learn.
I mean,
absolutely.
I mean, this is the discussion over what we're finding out and what we get from it.
But reading through, there's just little tidbits that you'll read, and it'll just hit you over the head like a hammer. You're like, wow.
Yeah.
And Steve and I were talking about this. We usually somewhat take a break over the summer. We're just busy. And I feel more fulfilled when I get back into it.
Yeah.
There's something about it. It's like that little piece of something that always seems you're missing something. You know what I mean? You never feel full.
We should technically be reading.
Yeah.
So because we're doing a study or in this challenge, we're staying true to keeping the topic fresh. And I find myself not reading ahead because of that, which is bad. Because I think your point is that reading the Bible again just kind of comforts your soul. It does me. And it's like I'm trying to figure a balance because...
Anybody out there that's read the Bible, tell us how you feel when you read it. I think Steve had brought this up to me one night, and I was like, yes, I do feel good. I feel good when I'm reading the Bible. Sometimes I have to make myself pick it up, which is weird, right? Isn't that like...
Well, it's a challenging read. It really, and especially where we are at. We're on Old Testament, and sometimes the early stuff that you're familiar with from childhood and in church, that's really exciting. You get to know more details, but then you get into other stuff where it's just like the rules and regulations. And I found that a little bit more inspiring. And then, like you said, Psalms, it's not a story. It's a collection of poems, poetry, Proverbs. I found Proverbs, though, unlike Psalms, inspirational in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely. You, like I said, you come across a sentence and you're just like, wow. It's just hit you like a bolt of lightning. So, I mean, what is Proverbs? It's a compilation of short instructions for living an effective, righteous life, a life of wisdom on earth. So it's sort of like instructions for you, how to be a godly person, how to fear God in a healthy way. Those that lead a righteous life will have good things happen to them. Those who choose a different path, a less righteous path, are going to have negative consequences for that.
Well, potentially. Remember, Job, we just read, had a righteous life, and he didn't. But I think our words to live by. It is wisdom.
Job was an exception, I think.
Well, but he was part of this, as I'm learning from other articles, to kind of understand the Bible. Job, Proverbs, and our next section, Ecclesiastes, are kind of around a topic of, not stories for sure, but a collection of stuff.
Right. So what is the theme of Proverbs? The basic theme of Proverbs is fear the Lord. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge.
Absolutely.
That was Proverbs 1, verse 7.
Hey, look at that.
What does it mean to fear the Lord? Because, we've all heard that before. And it is like, it's strange to hear the word fear in there. But basically what it is, it's just to view God with respect.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, yeah, you shouldn't fear him as like, oh my God, like, but it's more like I fear his not loving me, or not even that fear of not being with him forever.
You think of it like a parent as you're growing up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Are you going to disrespect your parents? I mean,
Well,
if you go against,
We kinda did.
yeah. I mean, we've all done it, but there's usually consequences for doing it, right?
and eternal ones if you disrespect God. So, but
Yes.
it's a healthy fear. It's wanting to him to want you, respecting. You said it right.
Yeah.
Respecting his word.
Basically, teaching that when we hold him in the highest esteem and depend on him with a humble trust, only then will we discover knowledge and wisdom.
Correct.
You like that one?
I do. I like the fact that we both hit on 1:7.
And they also talk about child, respecting their parents. They also emphasize in their listening to your elders. Listen, learn to your elders. They've been around longer than us. They have life experience that we don't have. A lot of times growing up, you don't want to listen to your parents. Like, they don't know what they're talking about. Well, they've been around a lot longer. They pretty much know what they're talking about.
Well, most do, yeah.
They don't want you to make the same mistakes that they made.
Yep.
But a lot of times we have to make those mistakes, and that's how we learn.
That is correct.
And then we can apply this to our own lives, basically.
Yeah, I was going to say it's meant to be. These are very memorizable paragraphs. I think they're meant to be, and it's also meant to be read over and over again. And I find now that I'm like just seeing situations, conversations outside of just in life. I'm like, there's a proverb for that,
Right.
So
Listening to others requires humility. That's a lesson in Proverbs. I never thought about that before. Sometimes you just need to check your egos. You just need to shut up.
yeah,
Not always have your opinion. Try to get it above this person's opinion. Be quiet and listen.
it's a fault of that I have.
Yeah, well, most people. Honestly, a lot of people have that. Solomon. We should talk about Solomon, because my understanding is that it's thought that Solomon inspired and actually wrote Proverbs or some of Proverbs.
The majority of them, yeah, I think, and it's listed in as you read it which ones they feel he read. And if you watch the Bible Project, it's the majority of them early on, and then the middle was kind of by his men, and then I think the end was by somebody else. So.
Mm-hmm. And then what can we do with Proverbs? Is there a way that we can incorporate it into our own lives? How do we apply it?
I learned from them actually. I think they're brilliant. I'm going to share a few of mine that it's no-brainers.
Most of Proverbs are statements brimming over with imagery from the real world. It's a real life lessons
Yeah. I thought you were asking me a question.
that we can relate to,
Yeah.
Now
So
it's
were
your
you not?
turn.
He was doing a rhetorical question, and I answered it.
I'm going to
dang
put
it.
you on the spot like Kamala Harris. Is there
Kamala?
anything you would do differently?
I can't say as I would.
Kamala. Sorry.
Eh.
Let's see. Steve, say something.
Something. But you were kind of going over. I thought you were doing a rhetorical question, but what can we learn by them? How we can apply them in our daily lives? There is. It's a good book. What were you said you struggled before we kind of started because it isn't a story.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Little life lessons, basically.
Yeah, words to live by. Words of truth. There's so many things to say. All right. So one of my things, and not to jump ahead into favorites, but something to me is, in Proverbs 3 verse 5, trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. So, and that's a strong one. I think it's my favorite at the time I've read this, but a strong section is always and acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight your paths. Mm-hmm. It's pretty profound verses, I felt. And there's some other ones, like I did Google, spare the rod, spoil your child, because it sounds like it's a proverb. It's not.
Oh, really? I would have thought that.
Well, no, it's so this, and I'm cutting you off one more time, but I'll go. Train up your child with the ways he should go, even when he's old, he will not depart from them. So
Okay.
It's kind of on that thought.
Proverbs 9 verse 10, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding.
Look at that. I have that one as well.
Yay!
So
that's what we're talking about. Proverbs
1:7 and 9:10 are really similar.
Proverbs 13:1, a wise son responds to his father's discipline, but a mocker doesn't listen to rebuke.
Absolutely.
Hmm?
And then what I've mentioned in our intro is words to live by in reading the Bible and the Bible Challenge, 27 chapter 17, or paragraph 17, sorry. Iron sharpens iron, and one man sharpens another. So I liken that this is our challenge. I mean, even, we're learning and we're discussing this. So
Exactly.
that's a nice proverb for what we're doing.
Proverbs 16, a person's heart plans his way, but the Lord determines his steps. Again, ultimately, the Lord is in control.
Yeah, and this what evil men do not understand justice, but those who seek the Lord understand it completely. It's pretty. I mean, there's just, one after another. It's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
How do you get into
Right.
it? I mean, I got some. I was going to go down this. I mean, because we could. There's a lot we could discuss.
And I noticed in a lot of chapters, too, it was one or two sentences of what you should do, and then it alternated one or two sentences of what you shouldn't do, and then just back and forth like that.
And I have one. So 20 Psalms. Proverbs 26:4. Answer not a fool according to his folly, lest you be like him yourself. The next verse. Answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own eyes. So basically, don't answer a fool. I mean, you kind of got to answer a fool in his foolish ways, otherwise he's going to be, think he's better than he is. At least that's my interpretation. It is tough, but
Proverbs 28:13, the one who conceals his sins will not prosper, but whoever confesses and renounces them will find mercy.
and these are all ones you took down, or
Well, I found a bunch on my phone that I liked.
oh, that you like, yeah. Like, wow, we had a lot of similar ones.
Proverbs 31, who can find a wife of noble character? She is far more precious than jewels.
Ooh, hey, there you go.
Just wisdom.
Yep,
That's what it is.
Well,
wisdom.
and a couple things. I mean, you did mention Kamala, so.
Kamala, yes.
Post-election, obviously, we're in election, just got back election, and we'll keep that kind of out of it. But just for some holiday, I know there are a lot of people, depending on which way you like and who wins and whatever, we know who won, but in maybe we're happy. Yes. Maybe we're not. But here's something I thought while I was reading this. It was, better, it's Proverbs 17:1. Better is a dry with quiet than a house full of feasting with strife. So I'm missing a word somewhere there, but it's basically talking about better to be quiet and then talk politics possibly over the holidays. So just there, so leave that. Thought a few things. Better to live in the corner of a house than in a house shared with a quarrelsome wife. So there was, and interestingly, that was Proverbs 21:9, and then Proverbs 20:24 is exactly the same.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and speaking of politics, even if the election had gone the other way, no matter how I lean, doesn't really matter how I lean, but if the Democrats had a sweep, I would say the same thing. We need to come together as people. There is a morning show that's on 5 days a week with 5 women on it.
Oh, yeah.
And they just had a program where there's a psychologist who's a professor in university, and she was saying that it would be okay if you wanted to never speak to certain family members and certain friends that voted opposite of you.
And it's disheartening they do that because it's happened to one
Why?
myself. We do have some, I won't mention, and there's some people that are close to us that have unfriended us, which is crazy. And that leads me back to, I don't want to cut you off, but evil men do not understand justice.
Yeah, I mean, that person's basically saying that those people are evil. If they voted the different way that you did, that they're somehow evil and and they're bad people and you need to cut yourself off from them. I think that's just the most foolish thing ever.
And
it makes zero sense to me.
And it's appropriate why we're doing the challenge we are doing now. We live in times where we need to know that. We need to understand, and we need discernment.
Whatever.
Discernment and understanding, and that no God, there is a God. I mean, I really feel that there was, it was His will. It was the will of the people, but as we've read and learned on, there's a lot of Jezebel stuff going on, a lot of bad stuff in the world, and who knows what tomorrow brings. There's a proverb: don't worry about I mean, don't boast about tomorrow because you don't know what the day may bring.
Yeah.
So I keep that in mind. That's good too, because yes, we're happy, and we both feel confident about the next 4 years. I'm not going to boast about it. I mean, I'm just excited, and I'm excited we're doing the challenge.
You know, we can't predict the future. We'll see what the next 4 years holds. So,
But we all will know that our eyes have been opened. At least mine have been, by reading what we've been reading.
exactly.
And we want you to join us because
I love this about Proverbs. Read it, then live it.
and read it
That's
again,
it.
memorize it, take it day to day. I mean, it's literally, I could go on with like 10 more that I put in there.
Yeah,
So.
and it really is. It is a book that you can keep going back to.
And I
You
think
need some
that's,
inspiration for.
and we'll discontinue our babbling on this topic,
Yep.
and we will talk to you next time on Ecclesiastes, which I learned is very similar to this. So, Randy, will he struggle or will he not?
We'll find
We'll see.
out. Stay tuned.
You all come back now, you hear?
Thanks.